Hello and welcome to Scottish Football Daily. I was really looking forward to getting stuck into a big Monday with a big weekend catch-up of lots of different rumours and news and developments of things that had went around. But outside of Scotland's friendly against Bolivia, not really much happened over the weekend, to be quite honest with you. So in this video, we'll have some actual rumours to get our teeth stuck into. It'll be interesting to see the comment section on this. And we do have a little bit of housekeeping. We do have one transfer that took part. We had our first week as a channel last week. So thanks to everyone that found the content, engaged with it, enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button, hit like and commented. It was a great first week for me. I'm glad you guys all seem to enjoy it as well. And hopefully from here, we can kick on a little bit and get a bit of a rhythm, a bit of consistency into some of the days of the shows and the themes and all the stuff we're going to try and tackle here today. At any point in this video, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, and you're finding the channel for the first time, please do hit like and subscribe for more content like this. Once we break through 1,000 subscribers, we should be able to unlock live streaming, which YouTube keeps telling me I've done, but for some reason the software never really seems to want to kick on. We're very, very close to it after 1 week, and I'm sure, hopefully, fingers crossed, by the end of this video, we'll have had enough subscribers to smash through that, and maybe later this week we'll get our first live stream out there. But yeah, let's just get stuck straight into this one because there's not too much meat on the bones, but there is some good topics, some good juicy topics to get our teeth stuck into. And the appetizer, the entree to it all, I suppose, is a bit of confirmed transfer business we had over the weekend, with Aberdeen further strengthening their defence by adding in, I don't know if I'd quite say veteran, but he's got 180 odd appearances in the lower reaches of English football, left-footed centre-back Dan Happ, who comes in to join the latest little wave of signings that Stephen Robinson has brought into this Aberdeen side. And with Happ now coming in as another bit of defensive reinforcement on top of what we've already seen with Lewis Mayo. I always think about Brad Lyons as defensive reinforcements, but of course a midfielder. We've spoke relentlessly on the channel over the last week about some of the moves that Aberdeen have concluded already. Connor Ronan imminent, Bredo confirmed already. And there was a bunch of you guys, Aberdeen fans, I suspect, in the chat that were telling me, Quinny, watch out. Butch and Mladic are probably going to be making their way out the door, as well as one or two others. But one of the kind of themes I've found myself kind of trapping into on the channel when we're looking at all these squads across the league is trying to put myself in the manager's POV when they're sitting in the battle room, in the transfer strategy room, thinking about how they're going to build the team ahead of next year. Where's their strengths? Where's the weaknesses? Where's the areas that they need to improve or get better quality in? And so far, a lot of the teams we've looked at so far, they have a big emphasis, they have a big preference towards making sure their defence is strong and deep. And Aberdeen right now, if they do let these other wingers go, definitely some further reinforcements in the attacking spaces. So left-footed centre-back, Happ comes in for Aberdeen. And really, if they sign any more defenders at this point, I would be surprised. And that swiftly takes us on to probably the biggest rumour that really grew arms and legs over the weekend and got some traction and got moving. Rudy Gillette is just the biggest account I've seen that was talking about it, but a number of accounts jumping on this across European and world football, that namely Porto, PSV and Galatasaray are among European clubs interested in Youssef Chermiti, who I think had previously gathered some interest from maybe some French teams or something like that, Serie A also. The three teams are following the situation very closely. And this is the thing that made me want to talk about this, right? Because the breadth of players that Chermiti is in the company of for replacing or supplementing these squads with Samu Amoridon, who has got tens of millions of pounds of transfer fees already to his name, Ricardo Pepe, who's destined for big things, a lot of people think, and Victor Osimhen, who's been one of the best strikers in European football over the last 5 years. It's pretty crazy to think, because this guy came into Rangers under a bit of a, let's say, division. A lot of money spent on him, hadn't done anything at all in the Premier League. Absolutely the square root of zero at Everton. A few appearances off the bench, not much at all. And Rangers had a tumultuous season. The highs and the lows of Russell Martin and Kevin Felwell and everything else that unfolded over last year. But Chermiti eventually came good. He was a big game player for the large part of his Rangers career last season against Celtic and Hearts. But he punches and bunches, and he did come up with some real highlight reel moments. And for a lot of these clubs, to be honest with you, they will do thorough scouting and everything, don't get me wrong, but they're not going to judge a guy like this on his ability to play like Kilmarnock and Livingston or whatever. They are going to judge him on the bigger, the high-pressure games, the moments where you have to turn up. And he individually had enough moments where I could imagine enough of these teams do shortlist him. Now, a lot of the fees that are going around is that Rangers are demanding a minimum of a Scottish transfer record, which would be like 27, 28 million pound, and on reporting. And that's the kind of budget a lot of these teams have should they lose some of their star strikers to go and replace him. where I think Rangers could realistically sell Chermiti in this window for close to the figures reported, because Rangers in this case have played an absolute blinder when it comes to European football transfer market moneyball, of take a guy, make them look a little better, and make some money for them. This guy comes out of the Sporting Lisbon Academy, which is very, very well regarded. He was already profiled and taken to the Premier League. And now, with this short little sample size that he has from his Rangers stint, there is enough meat on the bones there where a club would take a chance on him that maybe they wouldn't have after the Everton situation, as it were. He had enough on his resume at Everton for Kevin Fairwell to be madly in love with him and to aim for him. And sadly, he's not been there to see the fruition, the fruit of his labours come to bear, as it were. But this is something that I know a lot of Scottish football fans will turn their nose up at and go, this is never going to happen. But the profile of Youssef Chermiti is not too dissimilar to Samu Amoradon, Ricardo Pepe, even dare I say it, Victor Osimhen. These guys operate at a different level. They've done it already at a different level. So I'm not saying he's better than or the same as, but if you're looking for a big, strong striker that's got powerful running and has game-winning moments in his locker, Chermiti will come into a shortlist of that. There is no doubt. Now, how many options do these teams have outside of Chermiti? Yet to be seen. Is this going to be a guy that any of them are going to be rushing out to do a deal for? I'm not too certain about that, unless Rangers or his agents are proactive and kind of seeking that out and ratifying that, making that happen. But Galatasaray will be waiting on Osimhen to leave first. So that's a big transfer saga you can imagine happening. Moradon's got a ACL injury or something bad, so he's in rehab at the moment. And Pepe's away to the World Cup of America, so PSV are maybe just crossing their fingers he can burst onto the scene. Quite likely he stays at Rangers is what I'm kind of getting to here as well, because if their demands are that concrete, it's not a guarantee they get met. I'm thinking back to Nicholas Kuhn. It's quite a similar situation where at Celtic he had previously been in the Bayern Munich and the Ajax academies and all that kind of thing. And then with a kind of brief kind of burst onto the scene moment, there was definitely some interest. There was some big teams that were interested, but he ended up transferring for around the mid-teens. But where Rangers have an advantage here when it comes to the psychology of transfers is they've already spent like 12 million quid on him. And if he was 12 million quid and then he's got better, I don't really find it likely they're going to sell him for 15 or something like that. But it might end up being a deal that's something 18 to 20 with add-ons. Could be something like that. And this might be something that drags out throughout the window. But I think this is a serious bit of interest. I think there will be interest in Chermiti for all the reasons we've spoke about so far. And I don't know, Rangers fans, let me know, is this a move you're happy with or not? Particularly with Shankland coming in, Rangers do need money to come back in to balance the books and to continue to grease the wheels of the machine for turning over players and whatnot. So I expect Rangers to be motivated to cash in on Chermiti, quite the expensive outlay that he was, probably on pretty decent wages as well. And with Shankland, have you maybe got, and Nadiri, depending on your opinion on him, Danny Rose seemed to be quite happy with him as a big target in the January window. Maybe you've already got the replacements in-house, perhaps. And I think quite conversely, the other big development that we had to come out over the weekend is that Reo Hatate has notified Celtic that he wants to leave. And this is actually the pale comparison to the Youssef Chermiti situation, where Hatate actually has been at Celtic a lot longer, was actually really cheap as well, and has a lot of credentials for being an exceptional player in Champions League and Europa League and the Premier League. But the one thing about Reo Hatate is being a midfielder. If you think about what we're just chatting about with Chermiti, how many midfielders across European and world football are like Hatate, but way better, that a team would see Hatate as a replacement for, or could be the heir to a throne for somebody? There's not that many. The profile of midfielder he is just doesn't really land at the top level of football. Those little guys that play in between the lines. I know he's feisty. He wins the ball back. He's got a great bit of vision, but he is pretty wasteful in possession as well. And he's not outwardly a defensive player where he's all about protecting the back line and turning defence into attack. And this is a sad one for me. I'm a big Hatate fan, but I think he's going to be going somewhere pretty. I don't think Celtic, it'll be hard for them not to make profit on him, but I don't think there'll be any sort of sizable transfer fee coming for him. And at 28 years of age, this is a guy that's just been really, really mismanaged at Celtic. So it's funny how Chermiti, who a lot of people would probably agree Rangers overspent on, and yeah, he definitely has shown some flashes of brilliance, and we're speaking about the viability he has for a record-breaking transfer being there, but nobody would say he was such a revelation and the best this, that, and the other thing. But yet, because of the profile of the player and because those types of strikers are wanted by many a team, and if he shows the signs of being a good enough striker for some of those teams, you're going to get interest in there. versus someone who you try and unearth a bit of a gem, you try and turn them good, you bring them up to level, and then again with Celtic, there's just been so many mismanaged opportunities where Hatate, he's kind of 28. Is he maybe past peak? Is he maybe back past his best? Now, I'm not saying he couldn't go somewhere else and be just as good, maybe even better on paper than what he's been for Celtic, but he's not 24, 25 anymore. Youssef Chermiti is 22. This is kind of lost in the whole Arnie Engels conversation for me, but for no matter what you think this guy's shortcomings are, strikers are peak age when? 28 to 50. Hard to imagine this guy isn't a lot better by then, isn't he? And there's a journey to go on and acceleration moments of progression and all the rest of it. So some really interesting transfers that could develop outgoing from the league from both sides of Glasgow. Chermiti for perhaps a record-breaking fee for club and for league, if you're going to believe the reports and the interest around it. And in the case of Hatate, probably one of the most, I was going to say one of the most underwhelming. I suppose Rangers have had some underwhelming ones, but Morelos and Kent and whatnot were dubbed for big things and it never really materialised. And Hatate's maybe kind of following in that same kind of, it's different because Hatate's kind of got medals around his neck and whatever, but I just feel that the way he's leaving, he's not exactly been playing every week and the key guy. And it's like, oh, he's linked to a couple of teams like Chermiti. It's kind of anyone that comes at interest to Hatate will be a surprise because no one's been linked to him. So they are pretty much the big bits of news that we had come out across the weekend. And I tried to delay recording the video for as long as possible, just because I was maybe we'll get some news of something concrete perhaps, but it's not quite materialised. So we're starting the week off with some big rumours, some hot rumours, some big Glasgow kind of rumours. Maybe that's the way to think about it. And we should have a lot more kind of unfolding this week. We'll have the kickoff to the World Cup, of course, and we'll start to cover Scotland. And for any of you guys that are finding me and my content for the first time, that should give you the first kind of glimpse into the match-based content that I'll be running here on the channel throughout the SPFL season when we get to that. So I look forward to catching you for that as well. And as we get closer to the game, I'll do a bit of a preview, talk about squads, and because Steve Clarke does have some really good headaches on his hands now. So I look forward, maybe that'll be our live stream that we'll do. I'll look forward to catching up with you guys on all things Scotland as the week unfolds. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and retweet, and all that good stuff. On screen and now some other stuff that we've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy if you're watching on YouTube, of course. Thanks to everyone who's catching us on Spotify and Facebook and everything else. But yeah, stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one.